Hi, welcome to Rules Challenge. My name is Carter Maxwell, and in this episode we're going to be taking a look at the game Unconscious Mind. Now, this game isn't super well suited to the format of my shows just because the turns can run super long and there wasn't really a natural way to break up the turns into segments, so I just pretty much had to just let the whole turns run their course. So I only managed to squeeze in 8 questions into this challenge, but hopefully there's enough material here that you'll learn something new or get something out of it. Now, for those of you who are new to the show, it's basically just a test of your understanding of the rules, but instead of asking questions from the rule book, it'll be like you're watching a real game being played, but then at the end of each turn, I just stop and ask legal or illegal, and your job is to figure out if what you saw that turn was done correctly. And with that, let's go ahead and start the challenge. As is always the case in my videos, the game's already well underway. You can see that Blue already has 3 clients cured. I'm not even going to try to show you the whole board. It fills the entire table. I'd have to get an actual bird involved to give you a high enough bird's eye view to see everything. And we're going to go ahead and start things off with Blue since it's his turn. Blue will state ideas this turn. First one he'll place here, pointing at this space. And then the other one he'll place on top of that, pointing here at the space for gaining the card. These are both pretty straightforward. First one will allow him to generate an insight on growth, freedom, and passion, and the other one to draw a card from the deck. He'll go ahead and resolve this action first. So he'll move one of his insight pieces onto the minor tier of freedom, the minor tier of growth, and minor of passion. And now he'll resolve this action. He'll draw a card, take a look at it, and he'll swap that with this face-up one here. That completes his actions, so now he needs to advance his Inkpot 3 spaces. 1, 2, 3. And now he'll trigger the reputation track. His marker's currently on the space where he can gain 3 victory points and 1 coffee. So he'll mark those 3 points, 1, 2, 3, and the 1 coffee. Now he can take an action based on the position of Freud's marker, and he'll take the 1 notebook tile. He'll opt for this one here, and he'll place it on his player board. And that ends his turn. We're starting really basic here, but for first-time players, most early questions in a game will involve placement of ideas out on this meeting table. Blue's mistake was in placing the ideas so that they were pointing at different action spaces. Let's just quickly go over the basics of placing these out on the meeting table. You can place 1 piece or 2. They have to go on the same idea space. So, for example, Blue couldn't have split it up like this. And they have to be pointing at the same action space. So Blue was not allowed to arrange them like this, pointing at 2 different spaces. And last, they can't point at a space where you already have an idea pointing. So let's say at the start of Blue's turn, this piece was already in play. Blue would not have been allowed to place new ideas pointing at that same action space. Now it's Pink's turn, and she also wants to state ideas. She'll put a couple pieces here, pointing at this action space. And that space allows her to do 2 elevations and 1 transfer. With the first action, she'll elevate this median passion to major. She'll transfer this median freedom to growth, and she'll elevate that one to major. With the second action, she'll elevate an insight to the minor growth, and a second one to minor growth, and then she'll just pass on the transfer. These were her newly placed pieces, so now she needs to move her Inkpot 2 spaces. 1, 2. Now she'll activate this row, and that will allow her to generate a minor freedom and suppress an insight for a median insight. So she'll gain the minor freedom, and then she'll suppress that minor freedom to gain a median growth. And that ends her turn. The mistake this turn was that pink elevated insights out of the center onto the minor growth tier. Don't think of the center as just another tier. The elevate action can only be used to move an insight from a minor tier to a median, or from a median tier to a major. But note that there isn't a similar restriction on the suppress action. At the end of this turn, pink had suppressed a minor freedom into the center, and that's fine. So insights can be suppressed into the center, but they can't be elevated out of the center. And I should mention something else that people might question. You might have noticed that with those two actions, pink was allowed to do 4 elevations and 2 transfers. She only did one of the transfers, so she was foregoing one of the benefits, and that's okay. For the most part, you are allowed to pass on benefits. The one place that's restricted is when you complete a location goal. If you complete the goal, you have to take that location goal tile. Now it's Yellow's turn, and she's going to treat clients, and she'll start on this manifest dream here that will need a major growth and a major freedom. So she'll use those. That will give her 4 therapy points, so we'll mark that. The first one will give her a victory point, so we'll mark that, moving from 16 to 17. 2, 3, 4, and that reaches catharsis. So now to resolve the catharsis, first off, the dream didn't have a matching icon, so we won't worry about that one. Yellow will gain 4 points, so we'll mark that. 1, 2, 3, 4, and she'll gain 1 major freedom. And then we'll remove the grief overlay. She'll discard that dream card, and now she wants to use this dream, and that will require 1 major freedom and any median insight. So she'll use the major freedom and a median growth. Now to resolve the effects of the dream, she'll start by doing this advance Freud action. She'll advance Freud just 1 space. There are now 2 figures in that location, so she can take 2 location effects, and she'll use them both on elevates. She'll use the first elevate to move this minor growth to median, and then the second one to move it from median to major. And then the dream gives her 3 therapy points, so she'll go ahead and mark those, moving the marker from 3 to 0, and that will cure the client. Curing Carl gives her 10 victory points, so we'll mark that, moving her marker from 21 to 31. She'll move Carl into her play area and discard that dream. Now in the end of turn phase, Yellow has a couple things to do. First, she wants to spend a heart-shaped box on one of her clients, so she'll move from 1 to 0 and move the therapy marker 1 space left. And now she needs to refill the vacant room. She'll take Leopold here and then refill the display. She'll place Leopold in a room. She'll draw a latent dream. And for the manifest dream, she'll take this one with the tall animals and refill the display. She'll put those in place above the office board, the latent dream and the manifest dream. Now she needs to set the therapy marker. It looks like there are a total of 5 hearts on Leopold's card and grief overlay. So we'll set the marker at 5. And that'll end her turn. Everything was done correctly this turn. I do want to highlight the fact that yellow had scored 1 victory point when her therapy marker had passed through the space. Sometimes people are unsure how the scoring should work with these 3 spaces on the office board. I just try to think of it as anytime this therapy marker enters a space with victory points shown on it, you score it. So when you're setting up the client initially and you place that therapy marker, if it's placed on one of these spaces, you score those points. So in this case, when yellow had set up this client, she had 7 hearts total. So therapy marker is set on the 2. You score those 2 points. Then, as we saw during this turn, she applied 4 therapy points. So as she passed through that space, she was able to earn that 1 victory point there. Now Blue's up, and he also wants to treat clients, and he'll start by using this manifest dream here. That will require 1 major passion, 1 median growth, and 1 minor growth. So he'll use those 3, major passion, median growth, minor growth. Now to resolve the effects of the dream, he'll gain 3 victory points. 1, 2, 3. And now he can apply 3 therapy points. 1, 2, 3. And that reaches the catharsis space, so we'll resolve that. The grief overlay shows 1 victory point, so Blue will mark that. It also shows a median freedom, so Blue will gain that as well. And then he'll discard that grief overlay. And then he'll discard the manifest dream. Now he wants to use the latent dream that was right below it. That will require a median freedom, a minor passion, and a minor growth. So he'll use those 3, median freedom, minor passion, minor growth. And now he'll resolve the effects of that dream. He gets to gain a notebook, and he'll take this one here. He wants to place it in the 3rd column, and that won't be an issue because he's cured 3 clients already. And then since he's completed this row, he'll move that colored insight to the center of his dial. Now he can apply 2 therapy points. So we'll move the marker 2 spaces, which won't quite cure the client. And then we'll discard that latent dream. And that will end Blue's turn. Blue's mistake that turn was in using 2 dreams on the same client in the same turn. You can treat each of your clients just once during your turn. And once means using the dream above the client that is fully exposed when you take that action. One thing that might have looked weird but was correct is the fact that Blue ended his turn without refilling this dream area. And people sometimes wonder, well, if I used up my dreams, what are my options for curing that client? And really, it becomes then just about spending heart-shaped boxes. Once you use up these 2 dreams, you don't refill that area until you've fully cleared the client and have, put a new client into that room, and then you refill it with 2 new dreams. Now it's Pink's turn, and she wants to state ideas, and she'll just place 1 idea and have it pointing at this advance Freud space. She'll advance Freud the full 3 allowed, 1, 2, 3, to the museum location. There are 3 figures there, which is pretty good, but she can probably do better by counting location tags. She gets 2 from this cured client, and a 3rd from this played card, and a 4th from this client who has been through catharsis but hasn't been cured yet. Now she can trigger up to 4 location effects. Her options are generate a minor freedom, gain a coffee, or use a median freedom for a heart-shaped box. She'll use 2 of them for minor freedoms, and 2 to gain 2 coffee. That completes that action, so now Pink needs to advance her Inkpot 3 spaces. 1, 2, 3. That passed this icon, so she'll gain that idea and put it in her supply. She happens to be the first one to have unlocked all 3 ideas, so she'll gain a location goal tile. The location goals come with a reputation point, so Pink will resolve that. She'll advance the Freud reputation marker forward 1 space, and then her own marker forward 1 space. She'll flip over the goal tile, and now she needs to finish resolving that Inkpot activation. And since it's on the top row here, she can activate one of her unlocked columns, and she'll activate this first one. First, she'll use this bottom notebook. She'll use a minor passion to generate any median insight, and she'll make it a median passion. And then she'll use this one, where she can use any median insight. She'll use the median passion to gain a heart-shaped box. And then she can use this notebook, and she'll suppress a minor growth to gain a median freedom. And then she can use this unlock space here to generate any minor insight, and she'll make it a passion. Now she's in her end of turn phase, and she does want to use a heart-shaped box, so she'll spend 1, and she'll move this therapy marker 1 space left, and that'll earn her 1 VP. And that ends her turn. The thing from this turn that I think people might question is that Pink had counted a museum icon on this client that hadn't been cured yet when she was calculating how many location effects she can trigger. But that's legal. Once that client has gone through catharsis and cleared that grief layer, those icons on the bottom of the card are in play. Except, I should note, the victory points that are printed down there in the lower left-hand corner. Those wouldn't be applied until you actually cure the client. Now it's Yellow's turn, and she's going to state ideas. She wants to take this action here. She already has an idea pointing at it, so she's just going to use 2 bright ideas pointing at that space so she can take this action twice. This action costs 2 coffee, so for the first of these actions, she'll go ahead and spend those 2. 1, 2. Now she can choose one of these 2 notebook tiles and trigger its banner effects. She'll go with this one so she can trigger the location effects at the cafe location. There's nobody at that location right now, so she'll for sure want to use her location tags. She'll count this one here for 1. She has 2 more cafe icons here for 3, 2 more here for 5, and 1 on this played card for 6. She can only use 5 of those, but that's still really good. Her options are to gain minor passion, coffee, or to use a median passion for a heart-shaped box. She'll use 3 of the effects for minor passions. 1, 2, 3. And then she'll use the last 2 to gain 2 coffee. Now she'll move that notebook tile from the meeting table to her player board. She wants to place it here, and she does have a couple clients already cured, so that's not an issue. She'll flip the tile over and place it, and then since she's completed this row, she'll move this insight to the center of her dial. Now she'll refill the display. And now she'll take her second action. Again, that'll require paying 2 coffee. 1, 2. She wants to use that notebook tile that she just moved into that space. She'll get to trigger the banner effect, and that is to trigger the location effect in the university location. Nobody's in that location either, so again, she'll use her location tags, starting with 1 here. And she has 2 more on this cured client for a total of 3. So she can resolve 3 location effects, and the options this time are to generate a minor passion, to do an elevation, or to use a minor passion to gain a card. She's going to use 2 of the 3 for elevations so she can get ready to treat clients. So she'll elevate this minor growth to median, and then from median to major. Before using the last location effect, she wants to use an ability on one of her cured clients. Franz Kafka has an ability that allows her to do transfers whenever she wants. And she's going to transfer 3 of these minor passions over to freedom. And then with her last location effect, she's going to do another elevation and elevate one of these to median. Now she'll move the notebook tile to her player board. And again, as we saw earlier, she has cured 2 clients, so she can place this here. And since she filled this row and this column, she'll unlock both of these insights and move them to the center of her dial. And since she's filled her player board, as indicated here, she'll gain 1 reputation. First, she'll advance Freud's reputation marker 1 space to the right, and then she'll advance her own, and that cross this Freud icon here, so she'll need to advance his figure on the map. She'll refill the display, and that completes those 2 actions, so now she'll need to advance her Inkpot 1 space. And that will trigger the reputation track. Based on her current position, she'll gain 3 points and 1 coffee. So she'll mark those 3 points, 1, 2, 3, gain the 1 coffee. And now she can perform an action that's below Freud's marker. So she has the options of play 2 cards, gain a notebook tile, play 1 card, or gain a bright idea. So she'll play 2 cards. First, she'll play 1 that just gives her a couple location tags. And then for the second one, she'll play 1 that'll give her a heart-shaped box. She'll mark that. Now she's in her end of turn phase, so she'll clear these 2 bright ideas from the meeting table. And she'll return those to supply. She's not going to spend her heart-shaped box, and she doesn't have any rooms to refill, so she's done. There are a few interesting things that turn, but let's start with what yellow did wrong, and that was placing those bright ideas pointing at an action space where she already had an idea pointing. Sometimes people are under the impression that that's okay, but no, when you're using the bright idea pieces that way, they're subject to the same restrictions as the regular idea pieces. I should point out, though, that placing just bright ideas is okay. Sometimes people assume that you can only use bright ideas to augment a regular idea, but no, that's not the case. You can use just bright idea pieces. I should also mention that when you're taking an action to gain a notebook from the second or third column, the sequence of resolving the action requires you to resolve the banner effect before you move that tile to your player board, which normally wouldn't matter, but for instance, you couldn't place the tile on your player board and unlock a player colored insight and then use that insight toward the banner effect. I also want to highlight, you may have noticed that when yellow was resolving the banner effect on banners similar to this one that have that trigger a location, she actually counted this this tag toward her total, and that is correct. And then the last thing I want to mention, maybe this is too basic, but when you place a tile that completes a column, don't be tempted into thinking that that is what unlocks this idea piece. The completing columns has nothing to do with unlocking these. These are unlocked by having your Inkpot pass this space here. Now it's Blue's turn, and he's going to state ideas. But before he does that, he wants to get some resources in place. So he's going to spend a bright idea and advance his Inkpot one space. That crossed over this icon, so he'll gain an idea from the player board and move it into a supply area. And now, for having landed here, he'll activate a column and he'll do his first column here. From the bottom of the column, he's going to gain a minor passion. And then from this notebook, he's going to spend a coffee and gain a median passion and a minor passion. And then from this one, he'll gain a median freedom. And then on this one, he can use a minor passion to do 2 elevations. So he'll use the minor passion. He'll elevate this median freedom to major and minor passion to median. Now Blue will go ahead with stating ideas. He'll place 2 ideas on the 4th row pointing at the advance Freud action. He'll advance Freud just 1 space to the cafe location, and he'll check to see how many cafe tags he has. He has a total of 3, 1 from this cured client here, and 2 on this played card. His options are to generate a minor passion, gain a coffee, or use a median passion for a heart-shaped box. For the first 2 location effects, Blue will use median passions to gain heart-shaped boxes. So that's 2. And then the 3rd one, he'll just gain a coffee. Now Blue will take his 2nd advanced Freud action. He'll move him 1 space to the theater location. There are 2 figures there right now, and he doesn't have any more theater tags than that, so he'll trigger 2 location effects. The options are to generate a minor growth, do an elevation, or use a minor growth for a card. He'll use the first one to generate a minor growth, and the second one to elevate that minor growth to a median. Now he needs to activate his Inkpot, and he's on the 4th row, so he'll need to move it 4 spaces. Starting from here, 4 spaces will just get him to this space, and he'd like to get back to where he started. So he's going to spend a bright idea to move 5 spaces, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that'll get him back to the top row where he can activate a column. He'd like to activate this first column again, so first he'll spend a coffee to gain a median and minor passion. So there's the median and there's the minor. Then from this tile, he'll gain a median freedom. And then from this one, he can use a minor passion to do 2 elevations. So he'll use the minor passion and elevate this median growth to major and this median passion to major. And finally, this bottom space allows him to generate any minor insight. So he'll go with the minor passion. Blue doesn't have anything that he needs or wants to do in the end of turn phase, so that'll end his turn. Blue made a big mistake this turn. This was another misuse of a bright idea. When the Inkpot's activated at the end of a state ideas turn, you can spend bright ideas to increase or decrease the amount it moves. But you can't use a bright idea to just activate an Inkpot on its own. So Blue's use of the bright idea on this turn to initiate a movement of the Inkpot was just something he made up and wasn't legal. Now, one thing that Blue did that might have looked questionable but was legal, later in the turn during a legal movement of the Inkpot, he spent a bright idea to cause the Inkpot to return to the exact same space where it had started. In that situation, the Inkpot does have to move a non-zero number of spaces, but moving 5 right back to where it started is perfectly fine. Now it's Pink's turn, and she's going to recall ideas. So first, she'll count how many spaces that her ideas occupy, and it looks like 1, 2, 3. She gets to gain 3 coffee from that, but she notices that since she's at 4 already, 1 will go to waste. So she's going to do a conversion, as shown down here, and spend 3 coffee to gain a bright idea. And now she'll gain the 3 coffee from her recall action. Then she'll return all her ideas from the meeting table to her player board. Now she can claim either a location or district bonus. She'll go with the district bonus. Her figure is currently in this purple district, so she'll count up how many opera and museum tags she has. She doesn't have any opera tags, but she's loaded with museum tags. She's got 2 from this goal tile, 2 more on this client, 1 on this played card, that puts her at 5, and 1 more on this client for a total of 6. She needs to place a player-colored insight in the district, so it looks like she's going to have to lose a minor insight here. With 6 tags, she can place her insight into the highest slot here. And she'll move a district token down there, and she needs to take these 3 bonuses. First off, she'll take the 1 reputation. She'll advance Freud's reputation marker 1 space, and that'll cause his figure to move. And then she'll advance her own marker 1 space, and that'll also cause his figure to move. Now she'll gain 2 heart-shaped boxes. 1, 2. And finally, she can activate her Inkpot and move it 1 to 4 spaces. She'll move it the full 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and that'll trigger the reputation track. From this position here, she'll gain 3 victory points and 1 coffee. 1, 2, 3. And the 1 coffee. And now she can perform an action that's below or left of Freud's reputation marker, so she'll gain a heart-shaped box. She'll mark that, and she doesn't need to do any end of turn cleanup, so that'll end her turn. That turn was legal, but there were a few things I thought were noteworthy. One is, you might have noticed that Pink had already taken a district bonus here and placed her player-colored insight. And that's fine. You don't have to spread your pieces around to other districts. You can keep taking bonuses in the same one. The game does try to incentivize you to spread them out, though. This bonus here goes up significantly for having placed them in different districts. Also, you might have noticed that Pink had pulled this insight piece from the minor tier of her dial, and that's fine. Most people will try to pull it from the center so they're not unnecessarily wasting resources they've developed, but it doesn't have to come from the center. It could come from anywhere on your dial. And then the last thing I want to touch on, it didn't relate to this turn, but I've seen this question come up on recall actions. People, let's say Blue is about to do a recall. And people will say, okay, now if Blue placed this bright idea out here, would they count this as 2 spaces occupied for 2 coffees or 3 spaces occupied for 3 coffees? But actually, this situation shouldn't even be possible. If Blue were taking a recall action, there shouldn't be any bright ideas out there. The only reason this would come up is if somebody had forgotten at the end of their state ideas turn that they're supposed to remove any bright ideas that had been placed on the meeting table that turn. All right, this looks like a good place to wrap up the challenge. Hopefully you got something useful out of it. As always, if you think I got something wrong or just have a question, don't hesitate to leave a comment. Again, I'm Carter Maxwell. This has been Rules Challenge, and I hope to see you again soon. Thanks.